Hello, and welcome to Coffee with Jesus. I am your host, Todd Jubilee. Folks, in this episode, I'm going to do something a little bit different. Typically, on this podcast, what I will do is to share how God has helped me through certain tribulations in the past. Myself, my co-host, some of our guests or guest hosts will all share stories of tough times that we've been through and share how God has carried us through those times. And it is our hope that in showing you how God has carried us through tough times, that we can provide the encouragement and the hope that you need in order to make it through your own tough times. And I've shared a wide range of situations, from literally just asking God to stop the rain so I could walk a mile to my car without getting soaked, to, being at rock bottom. The very first episode of this season, I shared how I was at rock bottom and how God saved me from that and how God helped me in my situation. He provided for our terrestrial needs, my spiritual needs, my emotional needs. He gave me everything that I needed. I've shared how God has helped me during my time in Afghanistan, where He's protected me from physical dangers as well as spiritual and emotional dangers, and how God has brought me through those situations. I think, I've shared over the years how there's really nothing that's too big or too small for God to help us with. But each of these testimonies and each of these stories and situations have been things that I've been through in the past, things that I have made it through with God's help. What I would like to do in this episode is to share a situation that I'm currently in. Something has recently happened that I can see being a situation where I'm going to need God. And I'd like to share the situation now, and I'll probably have another, episode or two to follow up with this as well. But I'd like to share the situation I'm in now, share what I've done so far and what I believe God is going to do based on what He's done for me in the past. This is a little more difficult because, I've shared how we shouldn't worry or be anxious because God will take care of us. And I think I'm doing pretty good at knowing that God will take care of me. But folks, I've got to be honest with you. This whole don't be anxious thing, I'm still struggling. I mean, I'm struggling big. And, for those of you who know me, by all means, please feel free to hold me accountable, because I'm doing my best to trust God that everything will work out. So in the first episode of this particular season, of season 4, I shared how my family and I were up against it. Our lease was up, our landlord wouldn't renew, and we had very little time to find a new place and move. And it all worked out. God took care of all of us, and we were good. Well, not too long ago, I received an email from the property manager. The owner of the place that we are currently renting wants to sell when our lease is up. So we're going to have to move again, our second move inside a year. And this is just a cross-town move, but folks, this is tough. The housing market is such that we can't buy. We can't buy right now. Prices are still too high. And while I'm hoping and believing that they will fall to where we can buy something and not be completely upside down, we're just not there yet. So this really means 2 additional moves, right? Because we have to move into another place to rent, and then we'll have to move again once we finally do buy a place. And folks, moves are tough. It doesn't matter if it's a cross-country move or a cross-town move. Moves are tough. And immediately when I found this out, I had an anxiety attack, like a major anxiety attack. But I went to God right away. And I just asked Him, I said, okay, God, your will be done. And God, please, whatever your will is, please take care of my family and I. Please help us to find a new place, and please let this transition just go so incredibly smooth. Help us with this coming move. Now, I can say, at least in this particular case, we have some time. In fact, I can't even start looking right yet as this episode is being recorded and released. So we're not up against it. There's no really hard deadline just yet. We're not really in any danger like we were last time. But there's still this pending move coming. I'm still going to have to find a new place and get my family moved. That means packing everything up again when we haven't really finished unpacking from our last move. Getting everything moved to our new place, getting settled again, and trying to get situated in our new location. We've recently just started attending a church nearby, and depending on where we move, we may have to go through that process again of finding another church. We have barely gotten settled in our new location, and already we need to uproot ourselves and move again. And this has caused anxiety. It's caused frustration. It's caused stress. Not just on me, but on my family. And I think what I would like to do with both this current episode and, of course, the follow-up episode or two is to show you all kind of real time how God is going to take care of us, how God will take care of me and my family throughout this entire process. God has taken care of me in so many different ways. I know that God is going to take care of us again. But, like I said, there's still that anxiety. There's still that stress and frustration of the move. There's still having to be uprooted and then having to resettle and reintegrate. And so, I'd like to invite you all on this journey along with me. And I'd like to show you all in kind of a real-time sense how God is taking care of me and how God is providing for my family and I. And folks, I'm going to be completely open and transparent through the entire process. You know, I will share my frustrations. I will share my anxieties. I will share how God is taking care of me. I'll share the good and the bad. I'll share, everything. Because I have no doubt that no matter what happens over the next few months, in the end, I will be settled in a new home, and God will be in the details. Now, folks, on a practical matter, this is also going to affect the podcast. We have been releasing our episodes on a bi-weekly schedule. We take a short hiatus, over the holidays, and we take a longer hiatus over the summer. But basically throughout our season, if you will, we release our episodes on a bi-weekly schedule. Every second week, we drop a new episode. Well, over the next few months, I think that's going to change to every third week. And folks, I got to be honest, it may slip to 4 weeks. We're going to try to be consistent, but I would like to ask you all to please just bear with us, especially as over the next few months as I try to reshuffle my life yet again. We will try to be consistent, and like I said, I'll try to release episodes every third week. And I do have a lot of help. There are a lot of wonderful people out there who have provided help in the past, who contribute to the podcast, and I am eternally grateful for their help and their support. The thing is, though, even when other people guest host, or even when my co-host does an episode, I still have to do kind of the editing and putting everything together and releasing it. So that's going to take some time. So again, just please bear with us as we try to get you good quality material that will give you that hope and comfort you need. It just won't be as often for the next few months. I will be following up about my current situation in future episodes. I'm not going to make the rest of the season about this per se. There are other episodes that we would like to do and other testimonies we have to share. But I will definitely follow up with another episode or two, and definitely one in the end to show how God has taken care of us. So I'll follow up as things go to show you how God is taking care of us and where we are in the process. And then I'll also follow up at the end and kind of summarize everything and show you all just how much God has taken care of us. And so, like I said in the beginning, this is a little bit different from our usual, type of episode, because a situation it's just starting, and I can see that this is a situation where I am going to need God. I'm going to be relying on our Heavenly Father so much over the next few months, just to meet my terrestrial, earthly needs, but also my emotional and my spiritual needs as well. And I recognize this and I see this happening. And so I would like to share with you all as I'm going through this situation. And you all can witness my own emotional roller coaster. Like I said, I have no doubt that God is going to carry me through. But that whole don't be anxious part, again, folks, I'm struggling. So I hope that you all will, one, bear with me as I try to follow my own advice, if you will. But two, I hope that you all will pray for my family and I as well as we go through this transition again. And three, again, please just bear with us as a ministry and as a podcast, as our schedule is slightly reduced. While I have no doubt this is going to be an emotional roller coaster for me and for my family, I can tell you, straight up, as we're at the beginning of the situation, the very first thing I did was turn to God. I cried out to God in my distress, in my anxiety, and said, God, please help us. And then I not only asked God to help with the situation and to help us, find a new place, to be in the details, to give us a smooth transition, but I also asked God to help me with my anxiety, because this is something I struggle with. And I know I've shared that in other episodes. The Bible says, do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, through prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God, right? And then what happens when you do that? The peace that transcends all understanding will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. This is a promise from God. And this is a promise that I have experienced many, many times. But folks, again, I got to confess to you all, I still get anxious. I still get that stress and that anxiety when I'm faced with these situations. Now, I am learning to go to God right away. And I firmly believe that should be that first step whenever we face any sort of trial or tribulation, is we turn to God immediately. The very first thing we should do. It's a little funny story. When I was younger, I was at a men's function at a church. And as it ended and we were all in the parking lot, one of the guys' cars would not start. And us being men, we all, pop the hood, we get out, we look at the engine. Half of us probably don't even know what we're looking at, but we're pretending we do, So anyway, we are sincerely trying to help this guy. And nothing is working. We were all tapped out. We'd all tried everything we knew. And one guy offers up, well, has anybody prayed yet? And we all kind of looked guiltily at each other, but you know what? We joined hand around the engine and we prayed. And wouldn't you know it, folks? The car started right up. In this particular situation, we had done everything we could think of first. And then when we ran out of options, we turned to God. I have to be honest with you, folks. I tend to do that a lot more than I care to admit. In fact, when I found myself in the previous situation where I had a very, very short timeline to find a house and get moved, I tried everything in my power. I tried everything I could think of. I literally did everything humanly possible before I hit rock bottom. And it wasn't until I hit rock bottom that I turned to God. I'm not proud to admit that, but that's kind of how things went down last time. Now, I can say, sometimes I learn. And in this current situation, the very first thing I did was turn to God. As soon as I got the notification, I turned to God and said, God, your will be done, but please help my family, help us in this situation, and let everything work out and let things go smooth. And folks, my hope is that throughout this whole situation, I can take what I've learned, and hopefully not only will things go smooth, but spiritually and emotionally, I'll be in a much better place. Because when we trust God, that does put us in a better place. And it's taken me almost half of a century to realize this, but I'm hoping that I can apply that in this particular situation. And I invite you all to hold me accountable. If during one of the future episodes, it sounds like I'm starting to take matter into my own hands and try to take over and not trust God, reach out and call me out on it. The purpose of it letting you know all this up front is to, one, try to show you during an actual situation how God is still there. Because it's hard to see it, folks. When you are in the midst of a storm, when you are in the middle of that tribulation, it is hard to see how God is working for you. And I hope that by inviting you all on this journey that I find myself in, you all will be able to see real time how God is in the process, fully invested, fully helping us, taking care of every little detail. And the second part is, by all means, keep me accountable. If it seems like I'm trying to do things myself and not lean on God, or if it seems like I'm just too anxious, more anxious than I should be for trusting God, let me know. Call me out on it. And in the end, I have no doubt that God is going to work everything out, and that I will be singing praises for how He has helped us. I'm trying to start that a little bit early. I'm relying on God now, and I'm bringing it to God now, so that I can see Him throughout the whole process, throughout this whole situation. So please join me on this journey, and just watch and see how God moves during something that is not going to be fun. And if you see me not practicing what I preach, then hold me accountable. Hold my feet to the fire, as it were, and let me know. And I hope that in witnessing and joining me on this journey, when you go through your own trials and your own tribulations, you too will be able to see God, and you too will have no doubt that God will help you. No matter what situation you find yourself in, God will help you through it. God will be with you. God will give you the strength, the courage, and the comfort you need to make it through any situation. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, and God bless.